Good evening, it's Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. I'm a hypnotherapist, dream sculptor, published author, NLP practitioner, timeline coach, and I talk about my core experiences where I release and expand my life from. But tonight, I'm talking about this book I wrote called Dissolving Ancient Anger. And this was an experience that comes from my core because I've learned in my own deal and have expanded into, I release from my core. Everybody's different, but I release from the root chakra up. But if you look at the world today, the hate, the anger, and the distrust in the world comes from ancient times. But we're afraid to admit that we live our ancestors' life without even understanding we are. If you look across the world today, people argue and fight, and we get into arguments and we don't like each other and we don't even know why. And something I discovered in writing this book is I was using anger and frustration to try to get my way. And I learned that as a baby, but I'm sure I learned it from previous lives. But as I opened up to understand, that life, the anger that I had in life came from my childhood. And I had the emotions and the feelings buried. But what really opened my eyes is I paid attention to the countries around the world, especially the Middle East. And the people over there don't like each other, and we're all born after all the hate and anger of the life. So we have brought that anger with us. It comes from our DNA and stuff like that. And as I was writing this book, I asked, how is today's ancient anger of today? And mine was. So as I was looking through this, and I discovered through history, I was taught war. The Civil War, we've never expanded out of the Civil War. We've never expanded out of any war. And the anger from them wars continue, but war has always been a short term, but never a long term. We've never learned from history. History class was never taught to teach us. History class was taught to control us and ingrain what I call it the secret society and higher powers of the world wanted us to live by. And as I was writing this book, I'm going to read you something out of the first chapter called Dissolving Ancient Anger. As I read this book, I feel the enlightened, liberating forces of fervent optimism flow through my veins of fame. And I also write in first person. I ask me, how is the anger of today the same anger of my ancestors? I open up my uninhibited eyes to see, understand, and see the anger of today is the ancient anger and lashes my far-sighted pizzazz to dissolve ancient anger now, to unlock the peace within me and the people with dissolving anger. I awoke with prudent declaration. How is my thinking in life secretly controlled by my ancient and ancestral foundations? And I unbanded the dam, releasing the bold new wisdom to understand the world turns on the anchors of ancient times. So as I opened up to this, I discovered that I was trying to do what everybody else, the way history taught me to do it, and I was just hitting a stone wall, and I never went anywhere. And as I wrote this book last summer, I discovered that within me, there was anchors tied to, well, actually my parents, but I was tied to what I was taught in school. And I used the way, as we were born, we opened up to getting frustrated, start crying, we got our way. And as I grew older, I have to admit, I did that, and I still did it up until, well, last summer began the expansion out of it. And that is something else. The word expand over the word change allows you to free yourself from the memories of life. And that is a thing. We live in memory and we don't understand it. We call it the past, but the past doesn't exist. We live a continuous now with memories ingrained in us that are reactionary or responsive to our daily life. And that's what this book really opens up. And the reason I write in first person is when I write in the word you, I'm talking about somebody else, but actually them are my challenges. And I learn to address my inner self, confess it to me, bless it for being part of my life, and express it to the world to expand the world. Because the only way I understood I would expand is I have to be the tutor, not the teacher, the tutor, to allow people to understand that we all encompass the same things. We're just unwilling to admit it because everybody wanted to live in a perfect world. And I discovered I'm the most imperfect person in the world, but I'm okay with that because I like it. Because imperfections is my perfection of who I am. And the next chapter I wrote in there, I'm here to dissolve history. I boldly ask me, how does history tell people where they've been and where they're going in life? How does today mirror our ancestors' way of life, excluding our medical and technological advances? I unstrap the crap of history to revolutionize, appreciate, and participate in facilitating the dissolving history's prehistoric ire within me and in the minds of all others. As I state, history subconsciously controls people unknowingly, and by dissolving history, I liberate me by expelling history, unleashing my leadership lure to explore my innermost mojo. And that is the thing. We have the power and the initiative within us to expand out of this. And something I really discovered is I have to be taught peace and prosperity, because through history I was taught pillage, plunder, and war. And everybody thinks war gets us out of things. War is actually big money. It's actually an industry that supplies a lot of money to the higher powers. And by opening up to this, I'm willing to release I call it the ancestral anger, my ancient arrogance, and being attached to my ageless arrogance. Because the arrogance of the world has us locked and blocked in just where we are in life. And that's where I was until I started realizing I was going forward, but I was going nowhere. So as I opened up and started writing in first person and using the word expand, energize, and enterprise, it began moving forward. But I was also looking at how my life was having the same events, but yet I was trying to do all this other stuff. And there's the key word, trying. So when I released the trying and started really taking the inner voyage, I allowed my physical journey to be more fluent. And I still have the rough spots, but as I wrote the dissolving ancient anger, I taught myself anger to get my way. And that is basically what we do. We use anger to get our way. We use frustration. Try to use what they call a controlled frustration to get people to come our way and my way. And I know I've done that. And also in this book, something I discovered in writing this, it's called Releasing My Masculine Illiteracy. When I had a colon surgery about a year and a half ago, and somewhere between a knee surgery and colon surgery, I learned that I was stuck in my male energy. And I would not get off of it. I had to be right. Things had to be my way. And that led to locks and blocks and stubbornness. And I admit I was stubborn. And I'm okay with that, because everything I have in me is to expand me when I uncover and discover the gold mine of the divine, to dare myself to expand. And in masculine illiteracy, it says, I ask me, how was I afraid to concede and recognize that I embedded male illiteracy? My rebel rouser awakened my champion warrior to release my masculine literacy, unleash my legacy lure of enterprising ecstasy for all people in the world to enjoy. Upon their release, a bright, bold, guiding light of gliding, luminous, inspirational genius harmonized my trendsetter temerity. And that is the thing. I had to understand, I had to be a rebel rouser because I had to have more oomph in my expanding energy than I did in my habits. And that's something I've discovered, and it's going to be a chapter in another book. How do I listen to my habits and afraid to ask my body and my inner self and my wisdom what it desires to experience? And that's the thing. We want an accomplished outcome that we desire to experience. Rather than set a goal, and then you can write to the words and the images of it, but you want to always write above your thinking mind's words, like I am this. But if I energize the I am, a visionary or explorer, I open the roads of riches to enjoy the travels and the challenges that life puts forth. And life is going to put challenges in our way, but they're there to expand us, not to contract us. And in the back of this, there's the back 3 chapters are all positive. It ain't all about just the ancestral anger and the ageless arrogance I can see. But if you look at the world today and you look at the leaders of the world, there isn't a one of them admitting that we're locked and blocked in history. And we are really locked and blocked. It's about us. The people of the world have the wisdom and the innovation, but we also have the gut gall to experience it all, to expand the world out of where we're at and into peace, because we all have to learn peace because we've never had it. But this is the chapter. I'm liberated from everything. I'm liberated from everything to allow a new sense of freedom within my winter's skin. I realize, admit, and admire. I'm liberated from everything takes me beyond the boundaries of my thinking mind. It unwinds my divine heart, gut, soul, and brain that enhances communication, adorns my emotional why, sensing I'm emancipated from me, myself, and I, to glide on my carpet ride, that I am liberated from everything, sings my songs of sumptuous, optimistic success that bubbles from deep within me, myself, and I, so I fly. And that is where the wisdom is inside us. And we want to use, and the reason I use wisdom over knowledge, it's just like look at a light. The knowledge is, the light's on. Wisdom is what operates at. And wisdom operates free of memory, free of control, but it's also a curiosity to expand you out of everything in your life. So as you can thrive and strive in that, and my favorite chapter in this whole book is the grit, get, and gall. Grit, get, and go gall. I now feel my gleaming revolutionary inspirations today, galvanizing internal temerity, ascending natural determination, gallantly opening gut audacity, loving life, luxurious intimacy, feeling emotional grandeur, to surrender my egotistical arrogance that pandered me and pitied me, plasticity went away. The instant I uncovered and discovered my life is my responsibility to experience the lavish bliss of my desires. And that is something we're open to, is experiencing life. And something I had said on my radio show last night, and it kind of really opened me up. I have to be liberated from me because I am the victim of me, because it's in my mind, my thoughts, and everything. And I have to ask myself this question. How did I use arrogance to cover up my pity me and all my internal slander that I've done? And that is the thing. The inner slander is where we live. And I'm going to have next Tuesday is going to be about the third eye. And the movie that we play right under that is the way we live our life. It also shows you your self-esteem and everything about yourself. And we've been taught that subconsciously that we have to follow something. And that is where the school system and the system that we grew up in lacks, because it keeps us in ancient times. If you ask yourself, how is the school system and history tied to ancient times? Because the school's education is the greatest thing, but how is the education system our limitations of today? And another thing, if I watch the leaders of the world who I'm supposed to follow, but thank God I don't, because I understand they're locked in their own arrogance because they're willing to admit where they're wrong. But how has the world grown up, but we've never matured into peace and prosperity? Because it's uncharted. It's uncharted wisdom, but it's uncharted celebrations that we will experience. And how do you really want to desire to experience your life? And that is something that I've written in these books, is about the liberation of me from my self-taught stuff in my life. Because everything in life, I taught myself fear, I've taught myself anger, and next Thursday the Facebook Live is going to be on how did I teach myself fear, but I've taught myself everything. And this is going to be expanded, but I am my teacher. I am a student of my teaching. The world is a metaphor and a tutor for me to soar, never everything more. I was never supposed to be attached to anything in life. And when I detach from it, I have the courage to go through it and expand out of it. And see, that's the little saying is, I expand out of everything I expand out of stuff to expand of omniific foresight. See how that frees you? And there's no memory in them words. And it's really about getting a memory. Using words that are free of ancient times memories. Because the words like transformation and heal, there's always a scar that never gets healed and is still raw. But if you decide to appreciate that experience, that gives you value and moves you beyond the experience. It's about love and appreciating life so you experience and feel the value of your life. You want to feel the inspiration, and that is something the inspiration within us will take away the aspiration of being stuck in yesterday, but it's really start feeling inspiration and living and not thinking, but feeling the inspiration of your own wisdom. And that's where dissolving ancient anger will allow you to free yourself to move forward. And I want to thank everybody. I'm Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. My website is mycowboywisdom.com. My books are at amazon.com/author/Robert A. Wilson. And my email is robert@mycowboywisdom.com. It was my honor and privilege to be here with you tonight, and we'll see you next Tuesday night. And may everybody have a blessed and fun weekend.